The state of Alaska is widely known as the Great Land and is the last frontier. This video will explore the relationship of Alaska's present-day human population to its animal population, both domestic and wild. Please note that except for some government wildlife still photos, these animals were not photographed in the deep wilderness. The animal photos in this production depict Alaskan wildlife as any visitor can experience it today from Alaska's roadsides. Prior to Russian exploration of Alaska in 1728, native Alaskans had existed as animal hunters and gatherers for centuries. They used animals for food, clothing, and even to build boats and shelters. Vitus Jonassen Bering was a Dutch explorer employed by the Russian Tsar Peter I. Bering explored the far northeast of Siberia and in 1728 sailed through the Bering Strait. On a later Alaskan mapping expedition in 1741, Bering landed a party on the Alaskan coast. Among these explorers was a German naturalist, George Wilhelm Steller. The expedition was later wrecked on Bering Island, where Bering died. Steller and a handful of crew members survived the winter and returned to Russia. Steller's notes and drawings of Alaskan animals make him the pioneer in Alaskan animal research. Many Alaskan animals are named after him, including the Steller sea lion, Steller's jay, and Steller's sea eagle. Steller's notes are among the few records of the now extinct animals, the Alaskan speckled cormorant and Steller's sea cow. The early Russian settlement of Alaska was largely a result of the sea otter industry. Bering's crew also returned with Alaskan sea otter pelts, which were soon discovered to be highly prized in the Chinese Far East. This represented the birth of the Alaskan fur trade. Subsequent Russian interest in the sale of these rich furs initiated an era of Alaskan exploitation which almost wiped out the sea otter. By 1867, Russian exploitation had greatly reduced the number of sea otters. The Russian government was running low on funds, so Alaska was sold to the United States. During this time, the famous American naturalist William Healy Dahl researched Alaska's wildlife, describing the Alaskan porpoise and the sheep that still bear his name. The few conservation measures that had been instituted by the Russians in their final years of occupation were dropped by the Americans, and sea otter hunting intensified. Sea otters became alarmingly scarce. Finally, in 1911, when so few animals were left that it was no longer profitable to hunt them, sea otters were given full protection under the Fur Seal Treaty. This treaty was signed by the United States, Great Britain, Russia, and Japan. The sea otter lives in shallow water areas along the shores of the northern Pacific. Its range once extended from southern California north then west through the Aleutian Islands, the Kamchatka Peninsula, and south to the northern islands of Japan. In 1960, the state of Alaska assumed management authority for sea otters. The management program conducted by the state included the successful reintroduction of sea otters to unoccupied habitat in southeast Alaska, British Columbia, and Washington. The Marine Mammal Protection Act transferred management authority to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in 1972. The recovery of the Alaska sea otter population has been dramatic. Perhaps as few as 2,000 total animals existed in 1911, but by the mid-1970s, the Alaskan population numbered between 110,000 and 160,000. Most of the sea otter habitat in Alaska has now been repopulated. Beavers are social animals that live and work in family groups and build elaborate lodges made of sticks and mud. Once in decline in the 1800s, beavers were trapped for their fur that is both warm and water resistant. Pelts were largely used to make hats. The trapping of beavers lessened in the early 1900s, and today beavers are back in abundance.
This is a beaver lodge.
The beaver's heavy chestnut brown coat over a warm, soft underfur keeps the animal comfortable in all temperatures. Its large webbed feet and broad black tail can be used as a rudder when swimming. Muskrats are one of Alaska's most numerous fur bearers. Their fur is fine and extremely soft. Their nests are well above high water and have tunnels exiting underwater below the lowest freezing level. The red fox has well-developed senses of sight, smell, and hearing, which are responsible for its reputation as a canny and elusive hunter. It is an introduced animal on many Alaskan islands as a result of fox farming operations in the early 1900s. It is present in tundra regions, which it shares with the Arctic fox. Where the ranges of the two species overlap, the red fox is dominant. In these areas, red foxes have been observed digging Arctic foxes from their dens and killing them. The Arctic fox is found in treeless northern coastal areas of Alaska. Both blue and white phases occur. The white color phase is more common in northern litters, but young of each color phase may occur in the same litter. The lynx is the only cat native to Alaska. They are shy animals, however they can be seen during the long periods of summer daylight, especially during the years that they are abundant. Their large, broad feet function as snowshoes to aid the lynx in winter hunting and traveling.
Who's going to be that 30? Anybody want a 38? 30, 30, $25 right back here. Congratulations, that's a dandy. How about $200? $200 for the wolf now.
Wolves are highly social animals and usually live in packs. The social order in the pack is characterized by a dominance hierarchy led by an alpha pair. This dominance order is maintained largely through ritualized behavior. Wolf populations have been greatly reduced in recent years from state-sponsored bounty hunting. Wolves have been systematically killed from airplanes with the intent of reviving falling hunting stocks of caribou. The coyote is a newcomer to the Alaska scene. Coyotes were first noted in the state shortly after the turn of the 20th century. These animals seem to be infiltrating the state to fill the ecological niche abandoned by Alaska's declining wolf population. The two most populous animals in Alaska are caribou and humans. Along with people come their dependent domestic animals. Human farming has increased in Alaska during the last century, mostly due to state and federal sponsored farming communities in south central Alaska. Like farms anywhere, Alaskan farms have their share of domestic farm animals, cattle, pigs, chickens. We will now look at Alaska's most popular, as well as some of its rare domestic animals. The most recognizable of these domestic creatures is, of course, the dog. Alaskan dog racing, or mushing, is famous the world over, and is still popular all over the state. The most well-known of the dog races is the Iditarod, which begins in March and departs from Anchorage. The following clips are from the Yukon Quest Championship dog race in Fairbanks, 1 week after the end of the Iditarod.
Are they pumped? Doggy's nice and warm, isn't he?
Going up number 9, Jeff Collins from Esther. 5 seconds. 63:14.5. Next is Ross at 2 days.
When dogs are not being raced, they are being raised, trained, and exercised. Many racing dog kennels pay expenses by catering to the summer tourist trade. These kennels offer tours and summer dog cart rides.
Over here.
Winter sleds, the musher, all of his gear, and today's worth of food included, weighs between 250 and 270 pounds. This sled alone is over 300 plus the 7 of us. Several times today, Scarface on the left. Both those guys know about a dozen different purple commands. That's how we turn the key. We call them beat, right turn, off, left turn. The rest of the commands are for speeding up, slowing down, passing in the keys, etc. Both very smart dogs. Both been on numerous identities. Now the dogs right behind the leaders are called swing dogs. Swing dog's job is to help the leaders turn. We have a full 16-dog team who give a command, and our lead dogs try to go one way, but the rest want to go the other. You can imagine what would happen there. We try to get at least up front 4 dogs that'll help turn the team. And all those guys in the middle are just called team dogs. No glamorous titles or jobs. They just pull up there, and they're supposed to. And these 2 in the back are the wheel dogs. Now, the wheel dogs have a little bit more physically demanding job. Whenever the sled goes around a corner or over the top of the hill, you have to pull extra hard, because they're the only ones left with a direct pull on the sled. Easy, easy. Whoop. So in the summertime, we like to put our biggest, strongest dogs back there for the heavy loads or shorter distances. Wintertime, with a much lighter load over longer distance, we put our smaller, more durable dogs in the back. Especially on the winter sleds, because the winter sleds pull so much easier. Even though it's 260 pounds, it's a matter of ounces that each dog has to pull. The sled pulls, so it's why it's so easy. I've got a couple of young guys in this team.
Now, sled folks. Two lead dogs. What's that? Which one's the lead dog, really? Or the one on the right-hand side is the lead dog.
In Europe, caribou are called reindeer, but in Alaska and Canada, only the domestic forms are called reindeer. All caribou and reindeer throughout the world are considered to be of the same species, but there are 7 subspecies. Alaskan animals are all barren ground caribou. Several major Alaskan species have gone extinct in prehistoric times, but have recently been reintroduced by humans. One of these animals is the muskox.
Actually a cross, but he's very similar to the Canadian. He's got the darker face. He's about a 900-pound animal.
Natives call the muskox omingmak, meaning the animal with hair like a beard, a reference to its long hair that hangs nearly to the ground. The hair is called kivyut and is gathered by the natives. It is then processed and woven into extremely warm clothing.
Here. We used to dehorn everybody, thinking that it was safer for the animals. Yeah, we don't do that anymore, except sometimes with females. They tend to get theirs caught in the fences and end up with other injuries.
How many animals do you have?
Currently 44, and with 8 females still in the breeding program. If even males that qualify year to year vary, and the number of calves produced year to year will vary.
Always single birth?
Yeah. Occasionally, very, very rarely twins, and they don't survive. They're so much smaller than even that smallest. So one of our spring babies, the rest of the group is down here, but this is Caesar, who we raised on a bottle. It's between
These are the kivyut garment knitting patterns that are distinctive for each native village. The Roosevelt elk was also reintroduced into Alaska in 1929 with 8 calves from Washington State. Although bison were the most common large land animal in Alaska thousands of years ago, Alaska's 700 or so current wild bison are descended from just 20 bison transplanted to Delta Junction from Montana in 1928. Natural immigration and transplants have now created additional herds at Copper River, Chatinka River, and Farewell. Fish are extremely important to both Alaska's animal and human populations. After the collapse of the Alaskan sea otter fur trade, fishing became Alaska's main business. Since fish are also a critical resource to Alaska's wildlife, a delicate balance exists between human fishing and animal survival. the early years, fixed and floating fish traps were employed extensively to catch salmon. Such traps were prohibited following statehood in 1959. Now most pink salmon are taken with purse seines and drift or set gill nets. Lesser numbers are taken with troll gear and beach signs. Salmon reared in inshore marine waters are available to commercial and sports fishers all year. Catches of certain salmon in southeast Alaska are regulated by quotas set under the Pacific Salmon Treaty. In other regions of Alaska, salmon fisheries are closely managed to ensure that stocks are not over-harvested. In the Arctic, northwestern and interior Alaska, salmon remain an important year-round source of fresh and dried fish for human subsistence and personal use. Salmon are found throughout Alaska and the American Northwest. There are 5 major species of Alaskan salmon: chum, coho, sockeye, pink, and chinook. Migrating salmon are able to jump over waterfalls more than 12 feet tall in order to get back to their home stream for spawning. Chum salmon in the Yukon River are long-distance travel champions. Some migrate over 2,000 miles to their spawning streams. Some salmon travel for 2 months or more to reach their spawning streams without eating one bite of food. As they return to spawn, their colors may change to brown, bright red, green, or stripes. The spawning males of different species may also develop a hooked nose, humpback, or fierce teeth which help them attract a mate and defend their spawning territory.
Here we have several very tired salmon trying their darndest to get up the stream. And I think they're pretty exhausted.
As mentioned earlier, fish are a critical food source for many Alaskan animals. The annual migration of salmon into Alaska's rivers and streams represents a vital influx of nutrition into the entire subcontinent. Whales, seals, bears, eagles, and other birds all depend upon fish for subsistence. Sea otters are members of the weasel family and are related to mink and river otters.
See the sea otters out here in the water. Their presence in the water tell us that the oil companies are doing a good job of pollution control. You see, if this were oily polluted water, those blue guys could not be here. They rely solely upon their fur to keep them warm. They don't have a layer of blubber on them as other marine mammals have. It's just their fur. So if their fur were to be matted down with oil and stuff like that, of course, they would stick together and lose its insulated qualities, and they would die of exposure. When they get hungry, they simply roll over and dive down to the bottom of the bay and pick up something to eat. It could be a shellfish of some sort, it might be a crab, it could be a big old octopus. Whatever they can get their paws on, they come to the surface, lay on their back like these fellers are doing. They'll put the item of choice on their chest.
Adult males weigh 70 to 90 pounds, with some individuals weighing 100 pounds. Females average 40 to 60 pounds. Adults reach a length of 4.5 feet. Their fur is possibly the finest in the world. Unlike seals, which rely on a heavy layer of blubber for protection against the cold North Pacific waters, sea otters depend upon air trapped in their fur.
See how big that rear foot can get? See how floppy those rear feet are? It look like a kid with pajamas that are too long. But they can get up and run around like a dog on the land.
The Steller sea lion inhabits the North Pacific Ocean and is the largest member of the family of eared seals. Sea lions differ from hair seals, harbor seals, ring seals, ribbon seals, bearded seals, and spotted seals, in that sea lions have external ears and rear flippers which turn forward, allowing them to walk with a gait similar to land animals. They are called sea lions because they resemble the terrestrial lion of Africa and Asia, and vocalize with a lion-like roar. Sea lion populations in Alaska have declined in recent years by 80%. This precipitous decline is widely believed to be caused by overfishing of the creature's main prey, the pollock fish. Commercial fishing near sea lion rookery sites have been declared illegal after August 2000. The ribbon seal was for a long time the most elusive and least known of the true seals. The adult color pattern consists of 4 distinct light-colored ribbons on a dark background. They are smaller than bearded seals and larger than ring seals. The bearded seal is the largest true seal in Alaska. The northern fur seal is another eared seal. The term fur seal comes from the thick, waterproof underfur, which when straightened and dyed makes a very soft and warm pelt. Seals take refuge on the ice floes near tidewater glaciers in order to hide from their main predator, the orca. The turbid water near the glacier face, combined with the noisy blocks of ice, form a camouflage for the seals. Walruses are members of a widely distributed group of marine mammals known as pinnipeds, a group which also includes seals and sea lions. Walruses are the world's largest pinnipeds. They are also commonly found in relatively shallow water areas close to ice or land. Their geographic range completely encircles the polar basin. The 1990 population of the Pacific subspecies was estimated at about 201,000 animals. They are the mainstay of several Eskimo villages, where their flesh is used for food and the skins as boat coverings. The intestines were traditionally used to make waterproof clothing. Most of the animals undertake a northward spring migration and return south during the fall due to the seasonal advance and retreat of the sea ice. Native Alaskans still hunt walrus for subsistence and are quite skillful at carving the ivory of the walrus's large tusks. Although trade in ivory tusks between natives and non-natives is illegal, the sale of these carvings in Alaska is not. Laws are slightly different in Canada.
Hard to keep track of them. And they cruise through and they eat just not anything. Their favorite is seals and salmon and also schools of herring. Oh, I see a lot of young ones there. There should be some larger bulls. hard to keep track of them. And they cruise through and they eat just about anything. Their favorite is seals and salmon, and also schools of herring. Oh my, you see a lot of young ones there. There should be some larger bull.
Stop. Well, what if there's a better one?
They got up one big. Stop. Stop it. They do it.
The beluga whale is a medium-sized cetacean belonging to the group of toothed whales, which also includes sperm whales, killer whales, dolphins, and porpoises. Its closest relative is the horned narwhal. The blue whale is the largest living animal and is a member of the group of baleen whales. This type of baleen's throat area will balloon out with water while the whale is feeding. Other species in this group include the minke whale and the humpback whale. Blue whales reach 75 to 80 feet and weigh 200,000 pounds. When breathing, a blue whale can spout water up to 25 to 30 feet in the air. The dorsal fin on the blue whale is small, about 1 foot high. The humpback whale is the baleen whale most frequently seen swimming or feeding close to shore along the southern coast of Alaska. When beginning to dive, animals often lift their tails, called flukes, out of the water. Humpbacks dive and may stay submerged for as long as 30 minutes. When resting near the surface between dives, whales may blow every few seconds. Humpback whales are distinguished from other whales by their extremely long flippers, which may reach 25 to 30% of the length of the entire animal. Humpback whales have a small dorsal fin, which is often seen when the animal is beginning to dive. Adults may reach a length of 55 feet. The plates of baleen are generally dark in color and number 270 to 400 on each side of the upper jaw. This is the end of part 1 of the video production Alaska's Animals. To experience more of Alaska's animals, its birds, eagles, bears, deer, wild caribou, wild muskox, Kittiwake is a small gull and is the most common shorebird in southern Alaska. Nesting kittiwakes in this cliffside rookery are each sheltering a small chick beneath their body.
600 miles of open ocean to our right-hand side.
The speckled cormorant is a large, nearly flightless seabird that lived on a few remote islands at the western end of the Aleutian chain. This species was first identified in 1741 by the naturalist George Steller, who traveled with the explorer Vitus Bering on his voyage of exploration and discovery of Alaska. Steller discovered the large black birds while shipwrecked on a tiny island in the western Aleutians. In midwinter, the stranded sailors, Steller among them, began killing the slow-moving and unwilling rats for food. Puffins, because of their large colorful beaks and comical looks, are probably the most easily recognized and most popular Alaskan seabirds. They are sometimes called the Alaskan penguin. The most striking puffin feature is the large colorful bill. Horned puffins have a black back and neck with white on the sides of the head and on their breast. The horned puffin has a small fleshy dark horn above each eye in the summertime. The beak is bright yellow with a red tip. The tufted puffins are named for tufts of feathers that curl back from each side of the head. They have dark black bodies and white faces. They have orange feet, and their bills are red and yellow. Puffin bills are larger and more colorful in the summer nesting season than in winter. The bald eagle and the soaring golden eagle are two of Alaska's most magnificent birds of prey. The bald eagle is so named for its conspicuous white head and tail. The most distinctive white adult plumage is not attained until 5 or more years of age. Immature birds lack this easily identifiable characteristic and can be confused with the golden eagle. The bald eagle preys mostly on fish, like its relative the osprey. The bald eagle is Alaska's largest resident bird of prey, with a wingspan of up to 7.5 feet long. Peregrines are powerful, streamlined birds, capable of soaring 700 feet and are among the world's swiftest birds, flying at speeds of more than 124 miles per hour. Peregrine falcons are expert hunters feeding on songbirds, shorebirds, waterfowl, seabirds, and pigeons, all of which are caught in flight. The peregrine is anatomically specialized for hunting by direct pursuit in open areas. The prey often tries to escape by gaining altitude, but the peregrine uses its speed to stay above the prey, then dives, killing the prey by a direct blow of its closed fist. The sandhill crane is Alaska's largest game bird. They are wading birds and are famous for their unique mating dance. They come together in great flocks during migration, but are wary and scatter widely in their breeding and nesting areas. Adults stand almost 3 feet tall and have a wingspan of 6 feet or more. Mature birds are an ash-gray color with a bright red forehead. Immature birds are quite mottled with coppery or rusty feathers and lack the red forehead of the adults. Cranes have very powerful, unmistakable voices.
These are sandhill cranes again. They must be a mile away and you can still hear them. Those are big birds.
Trumpeter swans and tundra swans are the two species of swans native to North America, both nesting in Alaska. Like all swans, the sexes have identical plumage, and both tundra and trumpeter swan adults are all white. The feathers of immature swans are an ash-gray color, and some gray feathers remain evident on the heads and necks of the swans that are 1 to 2 years old. Canada geese are the most familiar geese in Alaska and across North America. Alaska hosts 6 of the 15 known subspecies, each of which varies in size and shading. Canada geese form lifelong pair bonds with mates, although those that lose mates will repair. Geese feed primarily by grazing on vegetation, and they are very social except during nesting. Pairs generally establish a nesting territory and produce 4 or 5 eggs per nest and raise their young as a family. Later families often combine to form creches guarded by several parents. As with most other waterfowl, geese are flightless for about a month in midsummer while their new wing feathers are grown. Predators of Canada geese and their eggs vary widely among areas and include foxes, coyotes, wolves, bears, wolverines, gulls, eagles, and ravens. Aleutian Canada geese weigh 4 to 6 pounds and usually have a broader white ring at the base of their necks than other subspecies. These birds are seldom seen in Alaska outside their Aleutian Island breeding grounds. Taverners and lesser Canada geese are the two medium-sized subspecies that are very similar and may collectively be called lessers. They differ only slightly in size and color. Dusky Canada geese are the darkest colored geese in Alaska. The population of dusky geese has always been small, with the shortest migration of all Canada geese in Alaska. The largest geese in Alaska are Vancouver Canada geese. These geese are found in southeastern Alaska, where most remain year-round. The biology of these birds is not well known because they are more secretive, frequently building nests and rearing broods in old-growth spruce and hemlock forest. Vancouvers sometimes nest in trees. Succulent plants, including skunk cabbage, are favored summer foods, but Vancouvers heavily rely on animal matter during the winter. Clams, salmon eggs, and even dead salmon are readily eaten. Magpies and their relatives, the gray and stellar jays, are among the most intelligent of birds. They may imitate the calls of other more dangerous birds of prey. All these birds live in Alaska year-round.
This is a gray jaybird.
Ptarmigan are close relatives of the grouse and live in alpine and arctic tundras. There are 3 kinds of ptarmigan, and all are found in Alaska. Willow ptarmigan are found nearly everywhere in Alaska's high, treeless country. Ptarmigan look just like small grouse, except that their toes are feathered, and their wings are white all year round, and they have pure white body plumage in winter. The common raven is another member of a family of birds which includes jays, crows, and magpies. The raven is a permanent resident of Alaska. The raven is the largest species of songbird and the largest all-black bird in the world. In Alaska, the raven can only be confused with a hawk or crow. Ravens have large stout bills, hawk-like wings, shaggy throat feathers, and wedge-shaped tails visible best when in flight. Ravens are excellent flyers, engaging in aerial acrobatics and sometimes soaring to great heights. However, the raven can produce an amazing assortment of sounds. One study in Alaska showed ravens have more than 30 distinct vocalizations. It is often difficult to distinguish a crow from a raven, except for the larger raven's sheer size. Brown bears are very much a part of the Alaska scene and are a favorite topic with most hunters, hikers, photographers, and fishers. They occur throughout Alaska. Brown and grizzly bears are once considered to be separate species, but technically they are the same species that inhabit different habitats. The huge brown bear on Kodiak Island are classified as a distinct subspecies from those on the mainland because they are genetically and physically isolated. The shape of their skulls also differs slightly. The term brown bear is commonly used to refer to the members of this species found in coastal areas where salmon is the primary food source. Brown bears found inland and in northern habitats or mountains are often called grizzlies. The brown bear resembles its close relative, the black bear. The brown bear, however, is much larger and has a more prominent shoulder hump, less prominent ears, and longer, straighter claws. Color is not a reliable key in differentiating between black and brown bear species because both species have many color phases. Brown bear colors range from dark brown through light blonde. Bear weights vary depending upon the time of the year. Bears weigh the least in the spring or early summer while recovering from their winter fast. They gain weight rapidly during late summer and fall and are waddling fat just prior to winter. An extremely large brown bear may have a skull 18 inches long and 12 inches wide. Such a bear, when standing on its hind feet, is about 9 feet tall. Inland brown bears are usually smaller than coastal bears, probably because they do not have a readily available food supply of protein-rich salmon in their diet. Black bears are the most abundant and widely distributed of the 3 species of North American bears. They have been recorded in all states except Hawaii. In Alaska, black bears occur over most of the forested areas of the state. Black bears are the smallest of the North American bears. Adult bears stand about 29 and measure about 60 inches from nose to tail. The males are larger than the females. An average adult male in spring weighs about 180 to 200 pounds, but may gain 20% in fat prior to their winter hibernation. The color of this bear over its entire range may be seen in the Yakutat area and has been reported in other parts of southeast Alaska. Black bears often have a patch of white hair on the fronts of their chests.
Oh, we can take his picture.
He spotted us now.
Polar bears are of special interest because of their large size, white color, and their position as the top carnivore in the harsh Arctic environment. They occur in the northern hemisphere, almost always in association with sea ice. Polar bears and brown bears evolved from a common ancestor and can still interbreed. Polar bears are similar in size to large brown bears. By the polar bear to life on sea ice includes a white coat with water-repellent guard hairs and dense underfur, a short furred snout, short ears, teeth specialized for a carnivorous rather than an omnivorous diet, and hair nearly completely covering the bottoms of their feet.
The only reliable way to tell a black bear from a brown bear is by the shape of the uvula. Observe. Say, ah. So when they do that, you can tell. Someone must really have hated this bear. This is a rare glacier bear.
Caribou are the most numerous large animals in Alaska and live in its Arctic and mountain tundra. Their world population is about 5 million. Caribou in Alaska are distributed in 32 herds or populations. A herd uses a calving area that is separate from the calving area of other herds, but different herds may mix together on winter ranges. Caribou have large concave hooves that spread widely to support the animal in snow and soft tundra. The feet also function as paddles when caribou swim. Caribou are the only members of the deer family in which both sexes grow antlers, which are shed yearly. Antlers of adult bulls are large and massive. The Sitka black-tailed deer is native to the wet coastal rainforests of southeast Alaska. Its range has been expanded by transplanting. The moose is the largest member of the deer family. The Alaskan moose are the largest moose in the world. Trophy-class bulls are found throughout Alaska, but the largest come from the western portion of the state. They are most abundant in areas that contain willow and birch shrubs, on timberline plateaus, and along marshes and the major rivers of south-central and interior Alaska. Newborn moose calves weigh 28 to 35 pounds, and within 5 months grow to over 300 pounds. Only the bulls have antlers. Moose occasionally produce trophy-sized antlers when they are 6 or 7 years old, with the largest antlers grown at approximately 10 to 12 years of age. In the wild, moose rarely live more than 16 years. Moose hunting is very popular in Alaska. Alaskan residents prepare for winter with a good stock of salmon and moose or caribou meat in the freezer. Guided moose hunts for outsiders is a big business. It is quite common to see rifle cases, coolers of moose meat, and wrapped moose antlers being handled as luggage in the airline checkout lines at Anchorage International Airport. Musk oxen are a species perfectly adapted to live in their harsh Arctic environment. Biologists now classify musk oxen with the sheep and goats. Both male and female musk oxen sexes have horns, but the horns of bulls are larger and heavier than those of the cows. Their coat consists of a long, coarse outer layer and a short, fine underhair. The coloration of Greenland muskox, the race found in Alaska, is generally dark brown with creamy-colored hair on the saddle, forehead, and legs. Mature bulls are about 5 feet at the shoulder. Cows are smaller, averaging approximately 4 feet in height. The name muskox is misleading because the animals are not related to oxen. Doll sheep inhabit the mountain ranges of Alaska. They are found in relatively dry country and frequent a special combination of open alpine ridges, meadows, and steep slopes with extremely rugged mountain terrain in the immediate vicinity. When danger approaches, they flee to the high mountain rocks and crags to elude pursuers. Male Doll sheep are called rams and are distinguished by massive curling horns. The females, called aws, have shorter, more slender, slightly curved horns. Rams resemble aws until they are about 3 years old. After that, continued horn growth makes rams easily recognizable. Horns grow steadily during spring, summer, and early fall. This seasonal start and stop growth of horns results in a pattern of rings called annuli, which are spaced along the length of the horn. These annual rings can be distinguished from the other rough corrugations on the sheep's horns, and the age can be accurately determined by counting the annuli. As rams mature, their horns form a circle when seen from the side. Ram horns reach half a circle in about 2 or 3 years, 3/4 of a circle in 4 to 5 years, and a full circle or curl in 7 to 8 years. Mountain goats are characterized by relatively short horns and a fondness for living in rugged terrain. The mountain goat's range is restricted to the steep and broken mountain ranges of northwestern North America and extends naturally from Idaho and Washington to south-central Alaska. Mountain goats are one of the 2 species of all-white hooved large mammals found in Alaska. They are often confused with young and female Doll sheep, but are easily distinguished by their longer hair, deeper chest, and black horns. They have a distinctive shaggy crop of hair that hangs down from their chin and lower jaw. Their hair is much longer in winter than in summer. Both sexes sport similar-sized short horns. Sexes are extremely difficult to differentiate in the field unless the female is accompanied by a kid. River otters are amphibious members of the weasel family that include the mink and the sea otter. They are found throughout mainland Alaska with the exception of the Arctic coast. Only the river otter's hide and feet are webbed. River otters have very well developed sense of smell and hearing. Several sets of strong cat-like whiskers are used by the animal in hunting and avoiding obstructions. The red squirrel occupies a wide variety of forest habitat and is often found in the coniferous forests of Alaska. Found in the coniferous forests. The Alaska marmot and the woodchuck are the 3 species of marmots that live in Alaska. All are large relatives of the squirrel. The porcupine is second in size only to the beaver among rodents of Alaska. The hair and thick layer of body fat keep the porcupine warm during the winter. porcupine squirrel. The porcupine is second in size only to the beaver among rodents of Alaska. The hair and thick layer of body fat keep the porcupine warm during the winter. The tail is club-like and the upper surface is heavily covered with quills. The quills are modified hairs which have barbs on the tips. Porcupines have excellent senses of smell, hearing, and taste, but its eyesight is poor. Its poor eyesight and its fondness for roadside salt results in the porcupine most frequently being seen as roadkill. Voles are mice that have fuzzy ears and short tails. They mainly live in and eat grass. 7 species of voles occur in Alaska. There are 2 species of hares in Alaska, the Arctic and snowshoe hare, both of which turn white in the winter. The snowshoe is the most common and widespread of the 2. In summer their coats are yellowish to grayish-brown with white underparts, and their tails are brown on the top. This coat is shed and replaced by a white coat in winter, but the hairs are dusky at the base and the underfur is gray. The large hide feet are well furred, adapting these animals for the deep snows of Alaska, hence the name snowshoes. Lemmings, voles, and hares are staple prey for many larger animals, including weasels, Arctic foxes, wolves, wolverines, snowy and short-eared owls, rough-legged hawks, peregrine falcons, glaucous gulls, and jaegers. So concludes our story of Alaska and its wild, hardy, and altogether fascinating animals. I'd like to offer my personal invitation to you to visit Alaska and discover for yourself the sights, sounds, and adventures of this great land and its animal inhabitants. Alaska is now more accessible than ever, and it is waiting for you. Alaska marmot and the woodchuck are the 3 species of marmots that live in Alaska. All are large relatives of the squirrel. The porcupine is second in size only to the beaver among rodents of Alaska. The hair and thick layer of body fat keep the porcupine warm during winter. The tail is club-like and the upper surface is heavily covered with quills. The quills are modified hairs which have barbs on the tips. Porcupines have excellent senses of smell, hearing, and taste, but its eyesight is poor. Its poor eyesight and its fondness for roadside salt results in the porcupine most frequently being seen as roadkill. Voles are mice that have fuzzy ears and short tails. They mainly live in and eat grass. 7 species of voles occur in Alaska. There are 2 species in Alaska, the Arctic and snowshoe hare, both of which turn white in the winter. The snowshoe is the most common and widespread of the two. Inside their coats are yellowish to grayish brown with white marks, and their tails are brown on the top. This coat is shed and replaced by a white coat in winter, but the hairs are dusky. Alaska marmot and the woodchuck are the three species of marmots that live in Alaska. All are large relatives of the squirrel. The porcupine is second in size only to the beaver among rodents of Alaska. The hair and thick layer of body fat keep the porcupine warm during the winter. The tail is club-like and the upper surface is heavily covered with quills. The quills are modified hairs which have barbs on the tips. Porcupines have excellent senses of smell, hearing, and taste, but its eyesight is poor. Its poor eyesight and its fondness for roadside salt results in the porcupine most frequently being seen as roadkill. Voles are mice that have fuzzy ears and short tails. They mainly live in and eat grass. 7 species of voles occur in Alaska. There are 2 species of hares in Alaska, the Arctic and snowshoe hare, both of which turn white in the winter. The snowshoe is the most common and widespread of the two. In summer their coats are yellowish to grayish brown with white underparts, and their tails are brown on the top. This coat is shed and replaced by a white coat in winter, but the hairs are dusky at the base and the underfur is gray. The large hide feet are well furred, adapting these animals for the deep snows of Alaska, hence the name snowshoes. Lemmings, voles, and hares are staple prey for many larger animals, including weasels, arctic foxes, wolves, wolverines, snowy and short-eared owls, rough-legged hawks, peregrine falcons, glaucous gulls, and jaegers. So concludes our story of Alaska and its wild, hardy, and altogether fascinating animals. I'd like to offer my personal invitation to you to visit Alaska and discover for yourself the sights, sounds, and adventures of this great land and its animal inhabitants. Alaska is now more accessible than ever, and it is waiting for you.